There's a storm blowing up out here. Some of you, if you've watched my very earliest videos, you'll find me sitting in this same place. I'm back in Maryland for a couple of weeks here, and back here in the woods. So refreshing, all of this greenery, the beautiful trees, and the wet rain coming with the thunderstorm. And so I'm going to take the opportunity just to sit out here in the Universal Temple. You know, that's one of the reasons that I start and end all of these videos with beautiful nature scenes, is because I'm really interested in expressing the universal nature of the divine, that it doesn't happen only in a mosque or a church or a temple, but that this is the original temple, the temple built by God, completely free of the right angles of ego, everything working in harmony, everything working to a common beauty. An amazing place. So I wanted to pick a question today that was asked of Sri Ramakrishna about whether it's possible for a householder to realize God. There's this constant question going on. It's more amongst the Indians in the order, I have to say, but in the long sense that you know, only monks can realize God, and that for a householder it's just too hard. And so someone actually asks Sri Ramakrishna that question, and so I thought I would share the answer. So Rakal's father's father-in-law was a devotee of God, and he asked the master, "Sir, can one realize God while leading the life of a householder?" Master, with a smile, "Why not? Live in the world like a mudfish." Now, mudfish, you know, it lays in the mud, but the mud doesn't stick to it. It's very much like water off of a duck's back. You know, it's knowing that this world in its essence was divine, but that the changing nature of it makes it unreal. That only that which is unchanging is real. So it's a good guidepost for your meditation when you're looking for the divine. He says, why not? Live in the world like a mudfish. The mudfish lives in the mud, but itself remains unstained. And here's a rather humorous allusion that he makes. Or live in the world like a loose woman. She attends to her household duties, but her mind is always on her sweetheart. Do your duties in the world, fixing your mind on God. But this is extremely difficult. I said it to the members of the Brahmo Samaj, which was another religious organization in Calcutta at that time. Suppose a typhoid patient is kept in a room where there are jars of pickles and pitchers of water. How can you expect the patient to recover? You know, because the idea was to drink that was bad for them, would prevent them from getting over their typhoid, that pickled water, that salty water. And so don't keep things that are difficult for you to overcome. Don't keep things that pull you into body and mind close at hand. All of your vices, all of the things that you find troubling to control, don't put them in arm's reach. How can you expect the patient to recover? The very thought of spiced pickles brings water to one's mouth. Yeah. To a man, woman is like that pickle, right? And to a woman, a man might be like that pickle, who knows? The craving for worldly things, which is chronic in man, is like a patient's craving for that water. There is no end to this craving. And that's the reason that we try and overcome these vices. It's not because they're inherently wrong. It's because they're inherently bonding. They bind you. They tie you up because you will never get enough. You know, you will never get enough. They keep leading you down that road until you take it to the nth degree, which is always exhaustion and ill health. You know, have a piece of cake, but if you sit and eat the entire cake in a sitting, you're not going to feel well. If you do that every day, you're going to ruin your body and ruin your health. And it's the same with all vices. It's the same with all the things that we run after that have to do with body-mind. There is no fulfillment there, and so we always think we need more, but that's the bondage. So he says, the typhoid patient says, I'm going to drink the whole pitcher of water. The situation is very difficult. There is so much confusion in the world. If you go this way, you are threatened with a shovel. If you go that way, you are threatened with a broomstick. Again, in another direction, you are threatened with a shoe beating. Besides, one cannot think of God unless one lives in solitude. The goldsmith melts gold to make ornaments. But how can he do his work well if he is disturbed again and again? Suppose you are separating rice from bits of husk. You must do it all by yourself. Every now and then you have to take the rice in your hand to see how clean it is. But how can you do your work well if you are called away again and again, if you're constantly distracted? You know, that's one of the things I realized when I moved into the monastery, a big difference. When I was out working, you know, as a computer scientist, I would have my meditation in the morning and then I would go to work. And I tell you, I wouldn't even get all the way to the office before the bliss of that meditation was completely gone, from the bus ride and the train station and all of that distraction. It just wore out. And when I moved into the monastery and realized, you know, I'd get up in the morning and I would do my meditation with the brothers, and then we'd sit at breakfast and talk about spiritual things, and then I would do my readings and my chantings and my practices. And that bliss from a great meditation would sometimes last a whole day. And you would add to it with the other meditations and practices during the day. So that's the primary benefit of a monastery, is that you have that time and solitude and quiet and all of the tools at your fingertips to develop your spiritual life. And you can really mimic that in a working life if it's your real desire to find the divine within yourself. You can mirror and mimic those practices and try and minimize the distractions. Then what is the way, sir? A devotee asks. Master, there is a way. One succeeds if one develops a strong sense of renunciation. Give up at once with determination what you know to be unreal. You know, those things, that renunciation, never a popular idea. Nobody wants to give things up. But that's because we haven't done the work of discernment in order to find the real nature of things. You know, take a look at how your vices affect you. See how much they fulfill you, and see how it is that you never have enough of them. See how they lure you into more and more and more and more. And you know, if it's the thing about it is that it always gets more and more particular. You know, if you like wine and you drink wine at first, any wine is fine, you know. And then your taste starts to develop, and you start to like only a certain kind of wine from France. And then after you've had that for a while, you like wine from only a certain vineyard on the border of Germany with France. And then it just goes on and on. Your tastes get more and more refined and more particular, and you have to look harder and harder, and you have to pay more and more money and spend more and more time chasing these things. And the end result is you turn out to be an 80-year-old woman or a man who's desperate for their bottle of wine, but no longer has the energy to go and get it for themselves, or, you know, the wherewithal to do whatever. It just becomes inaccessible. So always think of yourself as an old person. As you cultivate your desires and your wants in this life, are they sustainable? What's going to happen when you're old, you know, and you can't go out to the dance club, and you don't have the body and the face and the mind to be sharp and beautiful and attractive to chase after your wants? What do you do then? If you've developed this inner nature, this bliss that is naturally yours, if you develop that inner world, that cannot be taken away. It does not need anything outside of yourself for it to kindle a beautiful warmth of love within your own being. So yes, everyone can realize God. It's a matter of watching carefully, learning from what you see, and making strong decisions accordingly. Renounce these things that tie you down, that put a hook in your nose and lead you round and round. Discern, and when you see their nature, do everything you can to let go. What a misery to be trapped.